Shout, shout, I'm talking to you, so come on. Shout!
Good morning, everybody. 18 minutes after the hour, and Craig Fernican is your host. So glad to have on the program Oregon State Senator Doug Whitsett from District 28. He's up in Salem. And, you know, Doug, you had to have been right in the firefight watching this whole Senate Bill 964 come through for a vote. Of course, the medical marijuana community, they're jumping up and down. What are your thoughts on that Senate Bill 964 that passed 29-1?
Craig, it's a step in the right direction. It isn't enough. It needs to be regulated a great deal more.
Yeah.
We know that there's about, for every 100 pounds of supposed medical marijuana that's produced in Oregon, by caregivers, only about 20 pounds of that actually goes to the medical marijuana patients.
Wow.
So
really?
The other 80% is going somewhere else. And it's fascinating, Craig, that this is supposed to be a benevolent society, a situation where people are growing marijuana for the benefit of their sick brethren. And somehow, it's designed so there isn't supposed to be any profit in it. They're just supposed to be able to recover their costs for producing the marijuana for the people who have prescriptions.
Yeah, the temptation is too great. The temptation, out east, and Jackson County Sheriff Mike
Craig,
Winter.
what I was going to say is that somehow this industry that is not allowed to make a profit has something like 26 paid lobbyists in this building.
Wow, another wow from me.
So it's big money industry.
Oh yeah,
and it's that delta between what is being actually produced for medical marijuana patients and the rest is phenomenal. It's a $1 billion industry.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and in southern.
And so from the standpoint of common sense, we would cut it. We would reduce the production by 80% and get it back to where it's supposed to be. Common sense quite often doesn't prevail in this building, so the committee has done the best they can, is trying to, put inspection in, reduce the number of plants that people can have in one grow site, stopping the interstate. There's people in Southern Oregon.
Oh my goodness!
Growing for California patients. That's going to stop. There's a lot. It's a move in the right direction, but it's going to be a work in progress.
Well, and it is. It's kind of a mess. It's between the recreational that needs to be taxed, the medical that they don't want to be taxed. So it's just difficult that way. And like I was saying, it's $2,000 a pound out east. It's too lucrative for folks to say, oh God, we're not going to let this go up in smoke or waste it or throw it away in the garbage or do whatever. So. And these plants, this is the thing that they don't realize. We're part of the Emerald Triangle here in Southern Oregon. We grow the best weed in the world. We're known for it.
And almost all of the marijuana that's grown now is GMO, genetically modified.
Yeah.
And it has so that its THC level is anywhere from 4 to 10 times what the normal, the regular old pot weed was.
Oh, yeah.
As a matter of fact, it's my understanding the people who use it recreationally call the old stuff crap.
Oh, it is. It is, yeah.
It doesn't have any kick to it. And then we've also have the edibles, and they're distilling this stuff down into extracts that have very high levels of THC in them.
Yeah.
It's an industry into itself, and it's to date it has no regulation, and it's again this year we're not going to get it regulated to the point that we want to. And quite frankly, I mean, to be specific, we have two legislators, Senator Floyd Przansky from Eugene, who was the one no vote on the bill on the floor yesterday, and Representative Buckley, who's co-chair Ways and Means out of Ashland, that really are pushing back on regulation.
It's amazing to me. My big concern was the edibles, because the message has been sent to the children, and okay, let's question. On the Senate Bill 964, is there anything mentioned about edibles? Any regulation there? It's just a matter of just overall just total amounts, right? On that.
Yes, I think I think what they're going, the original bill had stuff in it on edibles. I believe the committee is planning on dealing with that in the recreational. This 944 bill deals only with medical marijuana. The next bill will, I don't remember the number, but the next bill will deal with recreational marijuana, and I believe they're planning on putting a Oregon Department of Agriculture regulation on the edibles, and that there's in this bill that came out, they're talking about regulating the concentration and testing requiring a testing of the product to see what's in it. This is the thing that I find fascinating as a veterinarian. You write a prescription. You write a prescription for a certain concentration, a certain dosage, and a certain frequency. These so-called prescriptions are coming out for marijuana. They have no idea what the dosage is, because they don't know what the concentration is, and the frequency is as often as you need to use it.
I know it from a veterinarian standpoint as well. Now, the interesting thing, Senator Whitsett, is that I've always given the medical marijuana patients that feel validated, they've gone through everything, and it works best for them. I've always said, I'm not in a position to judge. You do what you need to do. I'm not going to go there. It's the abuse of the system that I have a problem with. If you're validated and you do your due diligence, for children and seizures and the like, okay, I can see it and we'll go there. But I kind of set that aside and say, wait a minute, what about the abuse, and are we giving the right message to our children? So, that's kind of what happens with that. So,
well, absolutely. The medical marijuana, it has several legitimate purposes. Unfortunately, the vast preponderance of the people who have medical marijuana cards get it from about half a dozen doctors in the state of Oregon who write these prescriptions, and the vast preponderance of those are for chronic pain, where the medical marijuana is really useful in seizures and an anti-nausea drug and things like that. I mean, there's a purpose for it, but you're right, the abuse is rampant, even within the use of it by medical marijuana patients, notwithstanding the 80% of it that is excess being produced.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's crazy. Senator Whitsett, do you have time to hold through the break this morning? Okay, good. I was hoping. I didn't know what your schedule was like, so great. Ladies and gentlemen, Oregon State Senator Doug Whitsett from District 28. He's on the phone with us this morning. We're going to hold over and come right back. More on the Sunrise Show. There's lots going on up in the Oregon legislature, and we've got a window seat with Oregon State Senator Doug Whitsett. We'll come right back after these messages. Good morning, everybody. 35 minutes after the hour. Want to get right into it. Oregon State Senator Doug Whitsett has been good enough to hold over through the break. He's extremely busy. A lot of things going on. The session's going to be going through the whole month of June and hopefully not into July, but, well, we'll just see. But right now, we just finished talking about the Senate Bill 964 and why it was passed, and that 100 pounds, out of 100 pounds of medical marijuana, only 20 pounds is staying in the medical system. The other 80 pounds of marijuana, quite frankly, is going into the illegal realm of being sold, and it's not allowed to be sold for a profit. And Senator Whitsett, thank you for being on the program this morning.
Well, thanks for having me.
You bet. Now, we just talked House Bill 2093. It's going into committee. Obviously, it hasn't gotten to the Senate yet, but this is so interesting, and we talked about this a few weeks ago related to, I had rumors that the Democrats, on any type of tax bill, they have to have 60% vote in order for that to go through. But the judicial side, the lawyers, the attorneys, on that, if it's not a raising revenue bill, then it could go through on a regular vote. And so they take this House Bill 2093, which is a tax credit, but they work it so that it's a zero revenue bill, and they can go through a regular vote instead of having a 60% majority, which, by the way, they would, correct me if I'm wrong, they would miss by one vote in the House. Is that correct? On a majority?
They would miss by one vote in the House, and they would have to have have a party line vote in the Senate, and there's at least one senator that probably wouldn't vote for it.
Right. So this is power and control in this, and confrontational politics. And Senator, it's great to have you on. This House Bill 2093. Talk about this.
It's an end run around the Constitution. The people of Oregon put a clause in the Constitution that requires a 60% vote for any bill that raises revenue, any tax. And this has to do with tax credits. They're called tax expenditures. From the standpoint, if you give someone a tax credit, it actually reduces the revenue to the state. And so we have this bill that came out until yesterday afternoon. It was a half-page bill, and then there was a 28-page amendment gotten stuffed into it yesterday afternoon. It popped up about 4 o'clock. And the bill extends and increases a number of tax credits for various different entitlements. And then at the end of the bill, it prevents or prohibits Oregon corporations from using a tax credit to offset their minimum tax. That's that 1/10 of 1% minimum tax on gross receipts. It just wipes that ability to use the credit out. And that's how they, so on the one side you have the tax expenditures that are reducing revenue, and then there's the prohibition of using a tax credit for the corporations raises revenue, and wondering surprise it comes out about even, so it's not a bill for raising revenue. It's the first time that theory has really been tested, and I would really hope that the businesses of Oregon form a class action suit and go after that, because it is an end run around the Constitution.
Exactly, and this is a toe in the water to see if they can pass this through, because the legal team at the Oregon legislature has figured that if there's no raising revenue, right, it's the exact words of the Oregon Constitution that doesn't require that vote. This is those exact words, correct?
Yep. It has to be a bill for raising revenue to require that. And so what they're saying in their legal expertise is that if the tax savings are essentially equal to the tax increase, and if the bill is crafted that way, then it's not a bill for raising revenue.
So
that legally may be correct. It certainly was not the intent of the people who put that clause in the Constitution.
Exactly. So you go kind of fast forward in the future. If they could do this, they could literally have a bill put through that would have raising revenue, like taxes for Oregonians, but then if they put a tax credit on the backside of the bill with, say, a sunset clause, it would get passed because it's a zero revenue. The sunset clause goes away, and then there's tax for Oregonians.
Sure. Let's just give you an example. If you had this particular bill, they could have done this another way. They could have loaded up the new tax credits for various different entitlements, and then at the end of the bill, actually, instead of making it 1/10 of 1% for corporations, they could have made it 2/10 of 1% and balanced it out. So they could have balanced out the increased tax credits by an increased tax instead of doing it all by credits. It's kind of complicated, but it's the same deal.
Right, and here's the thing.
This is the classic.
Right.
Camel's nose under the tent. If this holds up, they can do anything.
Well, exactly, and this is the part, ladies and gentlemen. Give an inch, take a mile, and it's wrong. It's against the Oregon Constitution. It's wrong, but they're doing it anyway. And the Democrats are in power. They have to accept responsibility for this. And Senator Whitsett, I tell you, people need to write, call, send an email, anything on this kind of stuff, on this House Bill 2093.
Yep.
This doesn't represent the people. This isn't what Oregonians voted to send their legislators, their senators, and their representatives to Salem to do. I mean, we have much bigger issues than trying to figure out ways around the Oregon Constitution.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's just serendipity, but up until yesterday, we were on 48-hour notice. All things had to be posted for 2 days before they can be acted on in committee. Yesterday, the legislature went to 1 hour notice.
What?
Yeah. So,
and
we normally do that. I mean, we normally go from 48-hour notice to about this time of year we go to 24-hour notice, which speeds things up, and then at the end, when we get very near adjournment, we go to 1 hour notice to allows things to be moved around.
That makes
sense.
But
with that, the only reason for going to 1 hour notice a month before the end of session is to eliminate that pesky old public input.
Right, exactly. That 3-day law so they can push things through. Exactly right. Gosh.
Sure.
Well, Senator Whitsett, we're out of time. It's fascinating to get a window seat in the Oregon legislature. Ladies and gentlemen, Oregon State Senator Doug Whitsett from District 28. Doug, thank you for your hard work and everything you're doing up there, and appreciate your time and anything we can do down here. And I get your newsletter, and we talk about it. We talked about the revenue report earlier and the kicker and what's going on there. It's amazing to watch. Just as a footnote, in the Oregon budget, was it education and what was the other one that were the biggest, without question, costs in the Oregon budget? It was education and...
education and human services.
Right.
Human services is the big one.
And they practically blow out the chart. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said, interestingly, the human services is the biggest, and there's education. This last revenue forecast is supposed to be $105 million that's supposed to go to K-12 education. But, one of the things that people aren't hearing is that there's another $63 million from the corporate kicker that has already been reallocated to supposedly to the general fund for education. But it's my understanding that the Democrat majority is planning on not using that for other needful things. So that's a different subject.
That is another story. And you know what? I always follow the money, and you never know those last details right at the end. Senator, it's great to hear from you, and we'll be chasing and checking that out as well. So,
very good.
All right, sir. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, Oregon State Senator Doug Whitsett from District 28. Boy, we got to get to a break. We held over, but I tell you what, fascinating, ladies and gentlemen, when you've got legislators telling like it is. And we need to ask more questions. Follow the money. And are we getting service? If you're not getting service, you don't feel like you're getting service, write a letter, send an email, make a phone call, keep track of it. Because when we have town hall meetings, then you can say, I called 3 times, I wrote 4 times, I never got an answer back, or you got an answer on the first response. Okay, the Sunrise Show on News Radio 880 KCMX, back after this quick break.